Hello, and welcome to my talk on the challenges of maintaining consistent staffing in a video game studio. So for a bit of introduction, my name is Andrew Hans. I run a mid-sized independent studio based in Vienna, Austria. We're about 40 to 50 developers, and there are two main challenges that I face in trying to keep a studio alive. And it really boils down to two simple things: having enough work to do and having people to do that work. And this talk is about the second one. So our projects start and end small. Since we're work for hire, we're always trying to have the most team on during the production phase, which means that during incubation and pre-production it's small. And at the end of a project, once we've submitted to a publisher, there's very little that we can do to change a game, outside of maybe some minor bug fixing. So what we always try to do is time our projects so that one is ramping up while the one before it's ramping down. In reality, this doesn't really tend to work very often. There are usually a number of weeks, if not months, between projects. And often the same people who are needed to finish out a project are the same who should be starting the next one. Traditionally, there are really very few options on how to deal with this. You can fire people, but this is very damaging to your team as a whole and to the morale and the motivation. And it's especially frustrating when you know you're going to need those exact same people in a couple of weeks or a couple of months when the next project ramps up again. Another option is you can eat the burn rate if you can afford to do so. But I know from our experience that often whatever you stand to make in profit on a project often goes to just surviving until the next one starts. Or you can do what we do and look for these small co-development projects for 3 or 4 people for a couple of months to bridge that time. There's also the opposite problem, which we've run into in the past, where we don't have the people that we need. This could be due to milestone planning being a little off track, and we realize that we need an additional animator or a couple additional artists, but just for a short period of time. And hiring, at least where I am, is slow and challenging and often expensive. And often you may not have that permanent position. It is a temporary problem and you just need temporary help. Now, freelancers or outsourcers are always an option, but in our experience, the ones who are good are often also busy. And we've had mixed results with ones that actually understand the development pipeline behind a video game studio. And at the very least, they're going to require some management overhead, where it's getting them into the team and integrated and then assigning tasks. Unlike when we co-dev with a partner where they have all that in place and they have project management and all those tools there. One example of that is we had this a little while ago. We had a publisher who was actually quite happy with how a game was going and then was requesting more content. And they wanted me to find 8 people for 3 months in 2 weeks. And I can't do that where I am. That's just not possible. And after a while, I kind of zoomed out on the problem and realized that these two issues were compatible with each other. There are studios out there who have a short-term need of work, and studios out there who have a short-term need of people. And the issue is simply that they can't find each other. So I looked into how we solve this now, and basically is you call your friends. You write to all the studios you know and that you've met and said, hey, do you need any 3D artists? I've got a couple going spare. And we've been on the other side of that call too, where we had a studio who we've been friendly with for a long time, who gave us a call and said, I have these Unreal developers who I don't know about a project right now, could you use them? At that time, we had just started our first project in Unreal, and it was like, yeah, that's great. Would love to get that expertise. And this real world solution is kind of what we have right now. And I thought there's got to be a better way to do this, right? And when I went looking for one, I couldn't find one. So I ended up deciding, well, let's make it then. And that's what we're doing with Supply Drop now. The idea is essentially there's a studio out there who is really looking for a couple of people for a couple of months to get by between two projects or to bring in extra support for a few months. And there's another studio out there who really could use that. And how do they connect with each other? So what we've built is an online platform where you can put in the people that you have, what skills they're an expert in, and when they're available. And on the other side, you can run a search for a group of people and say what skills they need, what time, and we put them in touch with each other. It's not going through an agency. It's not going through anything else. It's a direct link between the two studios. There are a lot of problems we're not solving and not trying to solve. How do the two of you contract with each other? The same way you do now. How do you work together? How do you do it now? This is an existing system, these codev things. And we're just simply trying to broaden the reach that people have. So one of our key things right now is for developers to know this is just for studios. Outsourcing certainly has its place. We definitely use outsourcing studios and have had very good success with them in the past. And if certainly we need 500 props made, the right place to go is to one of these partners and say, hey, we need this. Can you provide that? Well, what we really need is more a feature made on the game. Having all of the pieces necessary for that really is something which studios can provide and which outsourcers or freelancers can't. I still think that they definitely have their uses, but we've had better success depending on what it is with another studio as a whole. And ultimately, this is a really scary problem. It's something which kills studios all the time, is a couple of months of not having work for just a couple of people. Or they have to make really tough decisions in terms of, can I keep these people on staff? Can I afford to do that, to last just that little bit longer until the next thing starts? And on the other hand, you end up with a situation where you have to take risks on people that you don't know, you've never worked with, and hope that it works out for the best, but there's never really a good time to do that. And ultimately, I made Supply Drop so that I can use it. This is a very personal problem to me. And we're just trying to make it a little bit easier. You can hire that really good candidate that you have, that with the knowledge that you will have a project for them. And if you don't, you can get them paid somewhere else. You can get them onto another codev opportunity somewhere. If this is something which, a problem that you've had in the past that you've run into, you should definitely check us out. We're supply-drop.network, and we're just trying to make this a little bit easier. And that's the quick introduction. And if you have questions, that would be a good time. I don't know how this works here. Ah, there's a chat tab here. Okay. So if you want some more details about us, I'll put our address into chat and my email as well. And you can reach out to me directly. I'd be happy to have a one-on-one call. Right now we are open and we're running. We have a number of companies who are already in and using the platform actively. Maybe worth mentioning that we've partnered with DDM, the agency, who have been instrumental in helping us reach out to people and get to know them. And we use them also as our studios agency, so we've known them for a number of years. And so there's where you can see us. And you can always reach me at there you go. So showcase. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. So if you'd like to see what it actually looks like, I'll throw this up. So here I am logged into a demo version of the site, which is this big demo flag here. And if you want access to the demo as well, let me know and I can make you an account on here. We have the team builder, where you have in the people within your studio, and here are some availabilities for them which have already been marked. We can see which skills they're an expert, and this is an artist that we have. And if I want to make a person available, I can just click on them and add an availability. Oop, that is demo feature. So give me 1 second here and switch back. Here we go. Right now, we're still doing manual approvals. Whenever companies come in, we actually verify first that they are a video game studio before they get full access to the platform. That was what I just ran into myself right there. So here we can see add availability. So I'm going to make her available from, let's say I know that from 1st of July until the end of August, I don't have a project for this person. And really as simply as that, now he's findable doing a search for that time. Yeah, this is the demo environment, which means that it is set up a little bit differently. And this is when you're running a search. So I'm going to be looking for a team of people here. So I'm going to say from the 1st of June until the end of June, I'm going to need 2 programmers. And they're going to be C++ programmers and I'm looking for, let's say this is a mobile game, so iOS and Android. Close it out, and I want two, so I can duplicate this, since I'm both of them. Run a search. And we're seeing here the results. In this case, they're all the same, but if there's someone who matches better for the time, then the skill selection, you'll see it differently here. So here we're seeing this person, these are all the same company. They don't have the Android, but they have the other criteria. So this is the best we can find. And we're seeing the two programmers over here and the alternatives for them. So this player in Seattle can match both of them like that. This company out of Florence can only have one of the two, and the same for the one in Peru. However, this one from Italy matches all of the skills and not just one. So we weight the search results very heavily by a company that can fill more roles than just one, with the understanding that it's easier to work with one team as opposed to multiple, but you are of course free to mix and match these as you see fit. So let's say in this case, you would rather have one person who's better at each. We can select this person in and add them to this team, and we can actually remove this one entirely if we'd want. And let's say that we prefer to work with someone in Peru as well. We can mix this team too. Person, this one. So we're seeing the alternatives still here. Select them in. And we can do it like that. Message system down here, where you are then, and this is kind of important because when you're seeing this, this is an offer that I got in from another person. You see the names of who's being looked for, but on that search page before, you may notice that you're not actually seeing the names of the developers you're hiring. This is intentional to provide a layer of privacy within your studio. So on this My Team page, what you're seeing here, only you see that. And when you are in contact with another studio, we don't share the information. You're free to. You're welcome to share as much or as little as you want about these people. But by default, this is designed to be very secure. The limit for team size? Nope, there isn't. There is no limit for how many people you can be looking for, how many people are on your team, or how many you can make available. The likelihood of a studio being able to fill, I think I'm sharing my screen still. Oh, where's the stuff? The likelihood of being able to find 8 people, say, from one studio goes down, but that's fine because we'll block them into finding the most from one studio possible and the most from another to have that overlap. But in theory, if it's 8 people from 8 different studios, we present you with a list which is that group. This is more meant for short-term codep. It's not meant to necessarily be a replacement for conferences or for a full project, but it could absolutely be used that way. Another question which has come up in the past is how this could work with Crunch and if it could help alleviate that, and it absolutely could. Crunch, we are very against within my studio. It's an absolute worst case. We've already kind of failed if we're in the situation where we have to do that. And when we do it like with really strict time limits and very clear communication to the team about how long it's going to last. And it's very expensive as well. So if we could find a couple people for a couple of months to boost our team rather than work our team to the bone, we'd prefer to do that, and this would allow us to do so. Then if that's it for now, I'm going to say thank you for attending the talk, and I hope to hear from you soon. Thanks, and bye. Okay. More questions, so I'm back. Yeah, I can talk about the business model a bit. So right now we don't have one. It's totally free. That's not going to last forever, but the principle behind this is that it's actually made for the small indie studios and not for big ones. The original plan, and there are a couple of philosophical goals driving how we want to have the business model behind it, which could be interesting. One, if you're looking for work for your people and you need to find that should always be free. The last thing I want to do is a studio who's already worried about making payroll or making it work, having to pay a platform to be able to do that. So philosophically, that's something we never want to charge for. On the other side, the original idea was a commission on the size of the deal. So, and again, this is based on just my personal experiences. If a project, and we were thinking like 5% was what we had come up with from the 7 years of companies we met with in the past year, which was reasonable. Because for me, if it costs me, say, 30,000 euro to hire in a bunch of outsourcers for a couple of months, do I care if it's 30,000 or 31,500? I do not. Either that's an affordable price or not. And for these companies, makes sense, but it's also scaling to the size. We looked at regional pricing options, we looked at per placement, but what we found was just the size of the deal, and if you can afford to hire another studio, the small fee to keep the platform running is all that we'd be looking for. We're not interested in doing a subscription-based service because I know for me, if I'm not using something every week or every month, I'm probably not going to want to be paying for it for that time either. And yes, the whole idea is that no one should be priced out of this. This should be used by everyone. Yeah, tell me about it with the wearing of multiple hats thing. That's absolutely true. And yeah, there's no reason why that's not possible. I agree. And it doesn't make sense for us to do it on a subscription basis. Right now, we're in the early days. We launched at the beginning of April, and so we're still growing. And the plan is at some point to put a business model behind this, but for now, we're just focusing on actually getting people in and using it. And we had planned to have our launch at GDC, which obviously didn't happen. And it kind of reinforced that now more than ever, this is a problem which a lot of people are going to be facing, and we don't want to take advantage of the situation. And so for us, yeah. So sorry, that was the original plan. It ended up getting very complicated very quickly because then we have to be involved in the contracting and the SOW and knowing what the deal is. And it's something we're still considering for the future, but it turned out to be, we could wait and we could build a lot more for this, or we can get it out to the hands of people so they can use it. The people between each other, they still contract the same way they do now. They send over SOWs, they do contracts, NDAs. For them, it makes sense. And from our side, it's like, do it the way you do it. But we're talking also with some, going from 2-person companies all the way up to 3,000-person companies who have interest in using this. And their requirements are very different. So trying to force a one-size-fits-all model on something which ranges so dramatically seems counterproductive if it's delaying us getting this into the hands of people. It's also worth noting, this isn't going away anytime soon. We're running this, it's a very small team. It's a very small operation, so we can keep this thing running for a very long time without monetizing the platform at all. So if it takes a while to get there, that's fine on our side. That's not our overriding concern here. As I mentioned in my talk, I made this because I need to use it, a couple of times a year at least, and both sides. We have a project which is ending right now, another one just starting, and it's not huge. It's like a grand total of 6 man months, which are unpaid, and we can and we will eat that. But it'd be much nicer if I didn't have to. And frankly, even if I just cover cost, like I'm not looking for my full studio's man month rate for these people for that time. Like if I get half, I'll be happy. It still is a definite improvement for the company. And so they're in their platform right now, and we'll see what happens. This is all new. Yeah, that's something we've been looking at as well, as acting as the payment provider between the two. And it is one of the main things we're considering as the model. We've also been talking a lot of the national and international associations in terms of if you're a member of Yuki or IDEA or one of these, or the IGDA, giving members of those organizations a discount on whatever we end up doing because you're already part of that. Our largest concern. The problem we're trying to solve is the studios out there that die because of this. And getting that fixed is the highest priority. The screening process right now is manual. It's literally, we ask for companies, company registration number when they register. So when you register, you can get to the platform, you can build your team out, but the option to make them available or to find people is locked until we verify that you're actually a studio. And we literally just look into all the studios to see if they're legitimate. So it's some overhead on it, but just the way that we can be the most sure is to make sure there's a human on the other side of that equation verifying these are actually companies. How can we get all the studios in? Sign up, register. It can take up to about 24 hours before we enable those features because we do the manual verification right now. That will go down over time, but for now we're being really extra cautious. Game development is fine. We tend to do things like, with the company registration, we've hit a bit of a snag with US companies where they don't have one which is either publicly available or is more sensitive, like the IN or any of these tax registration codes. So with those, we just tend to reach out and try to talk to someone directly there and verify that they are video game studio. The game being in development is totally okay too, as long as we can get something. And again, in the worst case, we just send an email and we set up a call with one of the people here. And of course, if someone comes in through one of these associations like the IGDA or EUKI, or through an agency like DDM, then we already know. And that's the verification that we need right there already. And this is the sort of thing that obviously works better the more people are involved. The larger the group of studios in and using it, the better it just functions, which is part of the reason why anything we're looking at in terms of a business model relies upon the fact that every studio can afford to use it. Otherwise, it defeats the purpose entirely. Well, thanks, Jason. We're really, it seems strange that there isn't something like this around already, and spend some time looking to make sure that I wasn't overlooking something, and I didn't find it yet, and that was very frustrating because it feels like this isn't rocket science or something. Hey, this studio needs people. This studio has people. Go talk. Yeah, feel free. If you want to talk one-on-one, or send an email or register, whatever, just let me know. I won't make the same mistake as last time. I'll just hang out here for another few minutes in case there are some more questions or something. No worries. I understand about the coffee. It's 1:30 in the afternoon here, so been awake for a little while. See you, Jason. Yeah, that's one of the things we found interesting is this, in some of the talks we've had, people have likened it to something like Uber, where it's coming, and I kind of disagree with that because we're not trying to be disruptive. Uber came in and tried to change the taxi industry and ride sharing, and it's taking an existing thing and altering it. This isn't really trying to compete with anybody. We're trying to solve a problem which very much exists, and it seems like no one really has done anything about yet. So let's see if we can't change that. Now that it's just us three, I think I'm gonna run. So, all right, thanks guys, and this time for real. See you later.